it's Jonathan, and welcome to another episode of Trident. Today, I have a silly story to tell that is connected with the war in Ukraine. Can I call it one, George?
We're in California, so yes you can.
I'm sure everyone here knows what we are talking about, even if it is illegal to say so in some countries. I was referring, of course, to what the Russian government calls the special military operation. Anyway, I've been observing the Russian Federation for quite some time. In early April, in fact, I received some good news and some bad news from Russia. Which one do you want me to give first, George?
Give me the good news first.
The good news is that a Russian teenage girl, young Maria Moskalyova, better known as Masha, has been returned to her mother.
That sounds sweet, but what's the mad news?
The mad news is that Masha was returned because her father, Alexei Vladimirovich Moskalyov, was sent to prison for 2 years.
Goodness, what did he do?
Not what he did, but what his young daughter did. She made artwork that was way too subversive for the Russian government. This is the story of a young girl, one who, though being reported as 13 in the media, is 16 according to her account on the Russian social media service VK. Whatever age she is remarkably brave for her age. In the western Russian region of Tula Oblast, there is a town called Yefremov. One of the schools there is simply designated School Number 9, and in April 2022, an art class there assigned students to make artwork in support of the Russian military. However, one of the students there, Masha, did something else instead. She produced a wondrously subversive drawing in opposition to the war. Here we can see a woman and a girl targeted with missiles. On the right, we can see a Russian tricolor with some slogans written on it. Depending on whether you read it horizontally or diagonally, the slogans can be either read as Niet Putinu, no to Putin, or as Niet Vaynya, no to war, the latter being the motto of the Russian anti-war movement. On the left, we can see a Ukrainian flag with another special slogan written on it, Slava Ukrainie. The Russian translation of the slogan that can be rendered into English as Glory to Ukraine, or as Slava Ukraini in Ukrainian. On top of this, it appears that just to the left of the rest of the drawing, Masha drew an oval-like shape, which not only included the phrase Slava Ukrainie, but also its reply Geroyam Slava, which can be translated into English as Glory to the Heroes, or into Ukrainian as Heroyam Slava. Overall, this artwork gives us a glimpse into the consequences of the so-called special operation. It also began a very strange series of events. The teacher, Nina Vorobyova, called the director, Larisa Trofimova, and the director called the police on a drawing. When the police arrived, they began asking the students their last names. Masha gave someone else's last name instead, and so she escaped. The girl's father, 53-year-old farmer and single father Alexei Moskalyov, would recall. She ran home out of breath, saying, "Papa, the police almost grabbed me. I drew a picture." He promised that the next day he would wait at the school for her until the classes were over, and so he waited for 2 hours, until the director called the police, again, resulting in the police and the guardianship service, something that has jurisdiction over these parental issues, showing up, removing Masha from her classroom and showing Alexei the drawing. Soon, Masha and her father were questioned by the police, who said to Alexei, "See what you're teaching a child! Look what she drew!" He responded, "What happened in particular? She is against war, against bloodshed. What's wrong with that?" Good question. By the 25th of April 2022, Alexei found out that a report was written against him for reportedly writing a subversive comment on the social media app Odnoklasniki. The comment can be translated as, "Army of Russia, rapists are next to us." By the way, he would later say that although he opposes the war, he had nothing to do with these subversive comments and that his account may have been hacked. As he said on the 27th of March 2023, he has a negative attitude about the war, but he wouldn't slide down to writing negative things, insults. In short, he said, and I quote, "I didn't do that." Suspicious? Anyway, while this statement is all too true, it is also, according to Russian law, a discreditation of the Russian military, and he was fined 32,000 rubles for those comments. He later recalled that when he and Masha left the court that evening, she was hungry and crying. She was shaking. He then said, "Mashinka, calm down. The trial took place. I was fined. Now they will leave us behind. It's all behind." The girl said that she was afraid to go to school, but her father reassured her that there wasn't anything to worry about. The good old man spoke too soon, for the next day the daughter went to school and the father got an interesting phone call, saying, "Alexei Vladimirovich, you urgently need to come to school. Your daughter was arrested by members of the FSB," referring to the Russian Federation Secret Police, the Federal Security Service. Fortunately, Alexei's meeting with the Federals was uneventful. They suggested that Masha should lead a pro-government youth team. The father politely declined because she had no time to do anything else. Masha asked her father not to send her to school again, and from that point on, she was homeschooled. Unfortunately, the story continues from there. On the 30th of December at 6:30 in the morning, Alexei found an interesting collection of vehicles outside his house. He would later recount that 3 police cars were standing around the house, 2 more police cars were standing at the end, and a little further, cars of the Ministry of Emergency Services, and a fire engine. He recalled that 12 people, policemen and agents of the FSB, had arrived. After Alexei reluctantly opened the door for them, they embarked on what the intruded resident calls a riot. An independent, non-government organization known as OVD Info corroborates this description by saying, "The FSB men took things out of the closet and threw them on the floor, trampled on clothes, pulled out cords, tore paintings off the walls, and overturned furniture." They also confiscated 125,000 rubles and 3,150 American dollars, apparently Alexei's entire savings, as well as a computer, some cell phones, and even old-fashioned push-button phones. They also photographed Masha's drawing before subsequently sending her to a social institution, that is a shelter or an orphanage, and her father to the FSB for further questioning. What does this questioning look like? Simple. The Federals beat him up, then left him locked in their office, with the anthem of the Russian Federation playing, at full volume, for 2 hours, until they thought they should call an ambulance. The doctors took his blood pressure and gave him 2 pills and an injection. What was the purpose of this brute treatment? It turns out that on the 27th, a case was opened against him, because he supposedly made an Odnoklassniki post on the 29th of July that had signs of discrediting the use of the armed forces of the RF. Though which post that was is unknown. Furthermore, Alexei was shown a post that Masha made more recently on the website VK, saying, "Our guys are dying without sparing their lives, and for what amount do they die there? For 200,000 a month? Or a little more?" The girl made a good point. After this most dangerous discussion, Alexei was released at 9 in the evening. He then picked up Masha from the shelter the next morning and took her home. The girl said that the shelter treated her well, and she even got a New Year's gift from them. What it is, I do not know. Anyway, they then moved to Uzlovaya, another town in Tula Oblast, in response to this incident. There they met Yelena Agafonova, a volunteer and activist from a public organization called the Tula Oblast People's Council. The Moskalyovs settled near Yelena's house, and the three of them seem to have built up good relations. Not only did Yelena help the Moskelyovs, but Masha in turn helped with Yelena's children. The volunteer is also a mother of many children. During this time, Masha was involved in the riding of horses. On the 9th of February, both families even celebrated Masha's birthday. As Yelena said, "You don't always see such things when a papa brings up a girl alone. We didn't even recognize her. Her hair was very beautifully done. She was very beautifully dressed." This is quite a sweet interlude. Unfortunately, it returns to madness from there. On the 1st of March 2023, two men came to Yelena's house. One in police clothing, the other in civilian clothes, both in masks. She asked them to show their official documents, to which they responded by leaving immediately. She later began live streaming a YouTube video as evidence, one you're seeing here right now. As you can see, more policemen arrived later. About 20 of them in all, as Yelena recalled. In the 1 hour and 26 minutes that she recorded, she still didn't receive an arrest warrant or any other official document. However, later that day, Alexei Moskelyov was arrested by the police. He was then placed under house arrest the following day, but his daughter was not returned to him. Instead, young Masha was sent once again to another orphanage. If you want to know what that one is like, we know not, since the volunteers and independent deputies that tried to visit her were all turned back. Masha did say to Yelena Agafonova, "Aunt Lena, I'll definitely call you." However, it turns out Masha was unable to make any calls from the orphanage. So strange. Curiouser and curiouser. Why was she sent to an orphanage when her father was at home? Well, it turns out that the Commission on Juvenile Affairs in Yefremov requested that Alexei's parental rights, as well as those of Masha's mother, Olga Sychihina, should be restricted. This is particularly odd since Olga Sychihina hadn't lived with Masha since the latter was free. Eventually, on the 27th of March, Alexei was tried by the Yefremov Inter-District Court. The following day, the court announced that Alexei was guilty of discreditation of the use of the armed forces of the Russian Federation in order to protect the interests of the Russian Federation and its citizens, maintain international peace and security, and the court has sentenced him to 2 years in prison. Not only that, but he was also banned from using the internet for 3 years, and his computer was confiscated in favor of the state. This isn't all that surprising because this is a Russian court. In fact, a local politician named Olga Podolskaya announced that she believes that a pro-war crowd was sent to the court while Alexei's support group wasn't even allowed to enter. That might explain things. Interestingly enough though, the good man fled house arrest on the 27th of March, a day before the court's verdict was announced and just after the trial was held. On the 28th, Masha wrote a letter to her father, which was then published the following day on Facebook by a lawyer named Dmitry Zakhvatov, whom Alexei had previously been acquainted with. This letter is somewhat long, but in short it offers plenty of reassurances to Alexei, including advice to believe, hope, and love. Aside from that, one of my favorite passages can be translated as follows. Know that we will win, that victory will be ours. No matter what happens, we are together. We are a team. You are the best. You are my papa, the smartest, the most handsome, the best papa in the world. Know that there is no one better than you. Towards the end of the letter, Masha notes that although she is reluctant to tell Alexei about her mood or health right now, she promised, "We'll meet and I'll tell you everything." She also promised to give him a present when they meet again. However, the most famous thing about the letter is its ending. The English language phrase, "I love you," as well as the final 2 Russian language sentences. You are a hero. my hero. Ah, that's sweet! A few days later, Alexei left his own note for Masha regarding this case. This note, in short, tells Masha to listen to his lawyer Vladimir Belyanka. Suggests that if a relative of hers wants to take custody of her, she should agree, because as he said, it's much better than being in an orphanage, and advises her to ask your dad and strongly ask the judge in the event that she is brought to court. Unfortunately, Alexei was apprehended in Minsk, the capital of the Republic of Belarus, by collaborationist policemen there. On the 1st of April, two human rights organizations in Russia, OVD Info and Memorial, sent a letter to the European Commission and the Council of Europe, asking them to try to prevent his deportation to Russia, and to achieve his transfer to a third country, safe and ready to receive Alexei. However, he has since been extradited back to the Russian Federation on the 12th of April. Although until then, the court in Yefremov did not know where he was, so they delayed their next hearing, which was previously to be held on the 6th of April. Later, on the 3rd of May, an advocacy group, Freedom to Masha Moskalyova, in Russian Svobodu Mashe Moskalyovoy, announced that they located Alexei. At the time, he was being held at Pretrial Detention Center 1, Sizov Odin, in Smolensk Oblast. Coincidentally, he turned 55 on the 30th of April, only 4 days previously. Hence, the group almost immediately suggested that sympathetic citizens write him letters of support. The group also announced a collection project which tried to deliver new glasses, jeans, food, and envelopes to him. On the 5th of May, however, Alexei himself was removed from this jail to be transferred to Tula Oblast. Don't worry, I'm told that care packages will follow him. In any case, on the 26th of May, the support group announced that with Yelena's help, they found Alexei in another jail in Tula Oblast, also designated Pretrial Detention Center 1, Sizov Odin. This group even gave an address you can write to him at. Speaking of letters, on the 25th of May, only a day previously, the Moscow branch of a pro-democracy party called the Russian United Democratic Party Yabloka, or Apple, held a monthly event involving the writing of letters to political prisoners. In response, the group Freedom to Masha Moskalyova told supporters in Moscow to write letters to Alexei in support of him. Then, on the 29th of May, Alexei's support team gave him a large care package. Every item in it was accepted by the jail management, except for the tea bags because they already have tea. It's good to see him get most of the care package. As for the girl, a strange mystery had developed since the trial was held. Toward the end of March, the girl's mother, Olga Sichihina, signaled her intention to take custody of the child, and to, and I quote, ward off her politics, anti-propaganda, and drawings. This, by the way, prompted the youth democratic movement Visna, or Spring, a pro-democracy youth organization in Russia, to issue a warning that the girl is in serious danger for 3 reasons. Because Sichihina has not paid her loan debts for years, and hence might not be financially stable enough to raise a child, because she wasn't previously interested in raising the girl, as evident by the fact that she hasn't even met her since she was free, and because of that comment. Apparently, the second accusation, that she wasn't interested in raising the girl, is true. In fact, it was only on the 30th of March that the regional governor of Tula Oblast, Putin's former bodyguard Alexei Dumin, convinced Sichihina to seek to raise Masha. As a side note, on the 5th of April, Yelena Agafonova signaled her own intention to try to take custody of Masha. From what I can tell, until I did, she would have made a good aunt. However, some confusing events during this time would lead to something else happening. On the 4th of April, the Russian Federation's Commissioner for Children's Rights, Maria Lvova-Belova, announced that Masha didn't want to be returned to her mother, and that she was looking for a substitute family. However, on the 5th of April, only the following day, the same official said that she did want to be returned to her mother. In fact, she was returned to her mother on that day. After that, we would not have any more information on the whereabouts of Masha or her mother until the 19th of April, when the news agency Tula News reported that beginning on the following day they would go on a 10-day vacation to Crimea, where she would study her schoolwork online. And yes, she is apparently back in school. I hear Crimea is quite a scenic place. However, there are some curious details about this story. Freedom to Masha Moskalyova, the aforementioned advocacy group, summarized the odd details of the news as follows. If everything is really good with Masha, we are only glad, and in fact, let's stop trying to find out something about her. It's just not clear what this conspiracy is for, and why, when the court is scheduled for Thursday, the 20th of April, does Mama take the girl to Crimea? If the claim was withdrawn only today, the 19th of April. And here's another interesting point. Does Mama know that Crimea is not the safest place to go on vacation right now? They made a good point. Even more curiously, the advocacy group published another statement, saying that the previous article by Tula News, TN, was written according to our reactions, and that in response to the group statements, this garbage heap quickly published another article about the withdrawal of the lawsuit, and then an interview with the mother. And yes, interview is in scare quotes in the group's statement. Apparently their goal was so that you and I would stop forcing the story and calm down. Evidently, this goal didn't succeed, for on the same day, something odd happened regarding the shelter mentioned earlier. Earlier in the month, Yelena Agafonova gave her phone to the shelter so that she can get in touch with Masha. However, when Yelena sent a call, with another phone of course, to the shelter asking where her phone was, Yelena was, as the advocacy group recalls, told that the police seized the phone and hung up. By the way, on the 5th of May, the Ministry of Justice of the Russian Federation recognized Yelena as a foreign agent, whatever that means, to which she responded by saying, "If you recognize milkmaids as foreign agents, then we are on the right track." Unsurprisingly, this may be causing some problems for Yelena. On the 19th of May, after writing a legally obligated warning about her being a foreign agent, she reported that, and I quote, "They stuck a Z on my gate and a flag of the RF on the fence." By the way, that Latin letter is, for some peculiar reason, a symbol of Russian military forces in Ukraine, which makes the appearance of that one-letter threat all the more disconcerting. A few days later, on the 24th, a day before her birthday, she got an odd gift. A funeral wreath saying, "Happy birthday, Linochka, from friends." A pro-government Telegram channel called Tula Extremism, spelled with that accursed Z, posted pictures of this wreath, denouncing the unemployed, scandalous lady for communicating with foreign agent media and helping the extremist Alexei Moskalyov. Yelena responded to this wreath by posting a YouTube video thanking them for the gift. Not only was she not afraid of this ominous present, but she also called the people that gave her the wreath cowards. She later humorously said that,
И уж, пожалуйста, мои доброжелатели или мои недоброжелатели, если вы не трусы, то приходите ко мне открыто. Я открыта к диалогу, всегда рада общению, обсудим с вами. В общем, всего доброго. И, кстати, я горжусь, что я русская, я не боюсь. Те, кто это делает, вот так вот закулисно, скажем так, ну, ребят, вы трусы, и вам до меня далеко.
I admire her calmness and humor in that response. However, Yelena's legal problems still didn't end there. On the 29th of May, it was announced that she is now being accused of discreditation of the Russian military.
What did she say?
About what?
I mean, to get accused of discreditation.
Well, we don't know. She wasn't told what she was being accused of. Twinkle, twinkle. What next? This is almost as strange as Masha's case. Speaking of Masha, we finally got a message back from her. On the 24th of May, Masha managed to get in contact with Vladimir Bilienko, her father's lawyer. She also drew a picture and asked the Freedom to Masha Moskalyova support group to publish it on their Telegram channel, which they promptly did. Here we can see two swings. Masha is sitting on one of them, and she appears to be pointing to the night sky. The other one is empty, which I can only assume represents Alexei's current absence from her life due to his imprisonment. Not only is it quite a touching drawing, but it also provides us a long-awaited glimpse into her real feelings. Either young Masha changed her mind very quickly, or the commissioner only told the truth on the 4th and not on the 5th. As Freedom to Masha Moskalyova said about the commissioner, "What is this, 7 Fridays in a week? Is this woman exactly where she belongs? Today I say one thing and tomorrow another?" In Russian, the phrase 7 Fridays in a week signifies that a person is not only inconsistent, but is also prone to frequently change one's mind or even break one's own promises. The advocacy group makes a very good point. George, what are Bielova's purposes in the announcement on April 5th?
I don't know, but I see the cherub that sees them.
Perhaps Masha was simply following the advice from the note her father had sent to her, to accept any offer by a relative to take custody of her. Then again, the Commissioner for Children's Rights is a very dubious character. As I mentioned in a previous Trident video, the Commissioner is wanted by the International Criminal Court in The Hague for overseeing the forced adoption, also termed kidnapping, of Ukrainian children. As for me, I hope Masha actually did want to be given to her mother. Otherwise, those pictures would be like the message of thanks that was sent by young Anya Naumenko, who thanked the Russian military for saving her and the other children in Mariupol.
Юрий Леонидович, это те самые дети, которых вы спасли. А помните Аню Науменко? Она здесь сейчас хочет сказать важные слова.
Спасибо.
Анечка, умничка, не стесняйся, говори. Мы с тобой, мы рядом.
Спасибо дяде Юре за то, что он меня, мою сестру и сотни тысяч детей спас с Мариуполя. Я чуть-чуть
If Masha were like Anya, that would explain why the activists were having a hard time contacting her, at least until she sent that drawing to Vladimir Bilienko. In any case, I may as well say that Freedom to Masha Moskalyova, for its Russian language channel on Telegram, @FreeMashaM, has been posting numerous updates about Masha's case. They've even reported on protests surrounding the case. On the 6th of April, someone showed up at the court in Yefremov wearing his testimony, a shirt that showed a picture of Masha with text saying, "Loving your father is not a crime." On the same day, a person from St. Petersburg, Lena Tarbayeva, visited the court in Yefremov while holding a poster that looks like Masha's drawing, but with a caption that proclaims, "Putin eats children."
Goodness, does he?
I don't know, but if this were true, then it would remind me of an old story I heard when I was a child about a walrus and a carpenter. However, I do know that this protester was detained that day, accused of discreditation of the Russian military, and then released, thankfully. A day later, on the 7th of April, a flash mob manifested itself to advocate the reunion of the father and the daughter. Famous cultural figures gathered to read Masha's letter to her father, the one that was written on the 29th of March. A week later, on April 15th, Alexander Ivanov, soloist of the group Naive, discussed the case of Masha Moskalyova, while wearing a shirt with her name written on it.
Не пойму почему. Все остальное получилось почему-то. А это дело Маши Москалевой. Почему-то не отпускает меня никак. Возможно, потому что дочь моя тоже ровесница ее. Ей 14, а Маше 13. Друзья, я хочу попросить вас, прогуглите это дело, узнайте, что там случилось. Ужаснитесь тому, что произошло с Машей и ее семьей. За рисунок, который она нарисовала, уроки из ЗО.
As a result, the theater swore an oath against the war. Some of Naive's planned concerts were cancelled, but the advocacy group sent its thanks. 12 days after that, on the 27th of April, a sympathetic citizen named Mark Serov stood in the streets of the city of Kazan, holding up quite a harsh criticism of the case. This sign can be translated into English as, "The Church is fighting children! Freedom to Masha Moskalyova and her father! Lvova Bielova to The Hague!" By the way, jerk is a more euphemistic translation I came up with for a profane, yet commonly used nickname for the current president of... President, indeed. Why, he's not a president! He's just a pompous, bad-tempered old tyrant.
What did you call him again?
I just called him a pompous, bad-tempered old tyrant.
That would explain some things.
Exactly! Anyway, I agree with the messages Mark sent. In fact, condemnations of this case have also been issued by non-Russian officials. On the 29th of March, European Commission spokesman Peter Stano suggested that Russia should respect its own constitution and international obligations instead of punishing kids and parents for political reasons. He has previously called for persecution of the Moskalyovs, another layer of the inhumanity of the Kremlin regime, and the suppression of anti-war activism in Russia, Stalinist-like repression. Meanwhile, on the 31st of March, Albanian envoy to the UN, Ferit Hoxha, mentioned the girl and the fact of her being enforced childcare, separated from her father, for an innocent drawing, as an example of the painful reality of the war in Ukraine. To both the European Commission and to Albania, I give my thanks. I myself will make more videos in the near future about Masha's case, as well as other Russian opponents of the war. For now, what have you learned, George?
I learned that the government of Russia can be quite scared of a child's drawing.
Indeed! If they can be frightened by a child's drawing, who knows what else they can be frightened by?
Perhaps if the colored pencil scares the court of the Queen of Hearts, the colored film will scare them too.
Good point. In fact, Masha has given me a model for me to follow in making future episodes of Trident. And another reason to do so. I'll continue this series till the war's end, with a victory for freedom, hopefully. The time has come, my little friends, to do so many things. To watch, to speak, to work with us, for sons and daughterlings. I hope you found this video informative. If you want to learn more about the current events in Ukraine and elsewhere, stay tuned for future episodes of this series. For now, I'm Jonathan Lombardi, and this has been Trident. Garoyam Slava!